Our first story, the National Communications Authority, the NCA, has scrambled a number of free-to-air television channels, including one operated by the controversial televangelist Bishop Daniel Obini.
Apart from Bishop Obini's religious channel, the NCA also scrambled Kespen TV, Angel TV, Care TV, and Capital TV. ATV, which is owned by businessman and former presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Parkwesi Endum, was also affected. A source at the NCA described the channels as pirate channels, explaining they operated without a license. The suspension of the broadcasts are with immediate effect. Most of the channels affected are on the KNET platform. According to a statement from the NCA, some of the channels do not meet the basic requirement to operate, and above all, most didn't even have the license to operate, while some were not regulated to operate. The statement also indicated there could be a second wave of takedowns.
From former President Jerry John Rawlings, John Atamils, to Sir Dawda Jawara of the Gambia and one of the longest-serving presidents in the world, Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, the Achimota School here in Accra has churned out some of the most prominent and illustrious individuals our country and Africa can produce.
But according to the headmistress of the school, its days of being the high school for presidents may well be numbered. Beryl Richter explains why in the following report.
Achimota School is one of the oldest and prestigious second-cycle institutions in the country. The school is well noted for its academic excellence. Achimota has for the past few years been struggling with maintaining her competitiveness. Old Achimotan Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah made this revelation at a stakeholders conference organized by the Old Achimotans Association Wednesday. According to Professor Mensah, the first step to addressing this worrying trend is to appreciate the magnitude of the problem.
Wesley Girls, Prempeh College, Infanspin, Presec, they were there. 2007, again, St. James, Wesley Girls, Opoku area, Puri Girls, Prempeh, Presby, Boys, Legon, St. Louis. You see some non-familiar schools there too, but many of the familiar schools were there. Again, top 10. We would have expected to see Achimota there. We didn't see it. 2008, again, you see Wesley Girls, Opoku, St. Peter's, Ghana Sectech. You see some unfamiliar schools appearing. They appear once in a while, but there are some other schools that appear regularly. And that's where we would have expected to be seen.
Notwithstanding these challenges, the headmistress of the school outlined some of the successes chalked in recent years. A typical example is when the school recorded 151 A's in integrated science in the 2015 West African Certificate Examination.
I would say that we are a school of integrity and we maintain discipline. We don't compromise any way in our examinations. We don't copy. We don't patronize leaked papers. So we'll maintain that. Like I said earlier, even if we are school number 500 and our students are students with integrity, that when they go out, they are praised. I made in my presentation universities, renowned universities outside, in America, Canada, and everywhere, coming to the school to see exactly what is in the school, that we train children like that. So we'll stick to that. Whether we are school 500 or school 1, we'll stick to integrity. We will not copy. We will not patronize leaked papers. We will stick to academic principles and produce children of virtue with integrity, good leadership. That is what we stand for.
This is despite the mass failure in the subject witnessed nationwide. She also stated the improved infrastructural development witnessed by the school due to the unflinching support received from the Parent-Teacher Association, old students, internally generated funds, and support from the GET Fund. Meanwhile, Professor Ernest Aite, an old student, has bemoaned the encroachment of the school's lands by estate developers, churches, and some displaced residents of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Water School is a national asset. So if its lands are taken away, if its lands are stolen by chiefs and by individuals, by families, it's unacceptable. Allowing the Achimota School lands to go away will be a major indictment on the people of Ghana, that we sat down and allowed a public asset to be taken away by individuals without question. It will call to question the functioning and effectiveness of our public institutions, whether those in charge of the courts or land and so on. Achimota School failing will be a major failure for Ghanaian institutions.
We'll move to some other stories, and some recruits of the Ghana Armed Forces who were expelled for allegedly revolting during their training have decided to take their case to the president.
The recruits, numbering about 500, had their enlistment terminated. The enlistment was terminated in December last year for misconduct bordering on mutiny. They, however, say they were never given a fair hearing. About 50 of them on Wednesday converged at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle to send a petition to the president through the governing National Democratic Congress. Derek Ecclesam has more.
The recruits were reported to have defied an order to go jogging as part of their training regime and were said to have staged a demonstration at the Army Recruit Training School at Shai Hills in the Greater Accra region. The Ghana Armed Forces then expelled the entire batch of recruits, set to number 501. But when they converged at the Obra Sports at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle to send their petition to the NDC headquarters, the recruits denied reports that they demonstrated. They would not speak on camera, but explained that they only refused to jog because the regime was too exerting. They insisted their dismissal was unfair and wanted President Mahama, as Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, to intervene and have them reinstated. After about an hour waiting for their colleagues from other regions to join them, the about 50 recruits made their way to the NDC headquarters, but could not readily find an executive to receive their petition, leaving them feeling dejected. The recruits, at the time Joy News was leaving the party headquarters, had still not been able to deliver the petition. None of the executives were also willing to speak to the issue. For Joy News, Derek Ecclesam.
Very interesting. You want to join the army, you refuse to jog because you feel the exercise is too exerting. And you don't deserve to be in the army, but it's not my place to say. But let's look at this. There's a looming conflict at Antwerp Bwanda farming community in the Shama district of the Western region over an alleged forceful eviction of some farmers from their lands.
One Nana Ntofo, popularly known as Rashid, is said to have contracted land guards to terrorize the farmers, forcing many residents to flee the town. Western Regional Correspondent William Benjamin Peters reports the farmers whose crops were destroyed in the process are threatening to fight back and reclaim their lands.
According to the chief of Atani Bwanda, Nana Chenchen Safo III, the cell-style chief was acting as a caretaker chief when she traveled outside. He allegedly took undue advantage with the help of some people to take over about 60 acres of farmlands and destroyed farm products, including cassava, plantain, cocoa, palm trees and coconuts. Most of the lands have been given out to some Chinese who are now working on them. The chief added that the police in the area have failed to act despite several complaints lodged by victims, while some residents who dare challenge the authority of the cell-style chief are either arrested or beaten up by his supporters. She further added that most of the residents, including herself, have fled the town for fear of losing their lives. One of the farmers whose land has been taken told Joy News some of the affected farmers are planning to launch an attack on the cell-style chief and his supporters. But speaking to Joy News, the accused chief, Nana Kwesi Ntofo, says the accusations are false. He also alleged that the former chief abandoned the community since 2007 and traveled to the United States, at which instance the kingmakers decided to replace her. One of the kingmakers, Ebusuapenyin Kweku Besa, confirmed what Nana Ntofo says and condemned the former chief for making such allegations that gave a bad impression of the community to the outside world. William Benjamin Peters report from the Western region.
Ghana, as a country since independence, has made strenuous efforts to develop into a regional force in the field of science, with each government mandating a body to see to that very mandate.
The results, as chronicled by the National Museum of Science, have, however, been far from satisfactory. But there may be hope in the horizon. Derek Huckle. Some found out that after 30 years of neglect, the Museum of Science could soon be taking its rightful place in the development of the subject.
In the early 1960s, this place was commissioned with one sole aim: to give Ghanaian students and the country as a whole education and practical hands-on experience in the world of science. Now, some 40 or 50 years down the line, I want to see what has happened to this place.
Object was built by one Wisdom Tosla.
Okay.
He was using this bike, as a means of transport. By then he was attending school at the AME Zion School at Mamprobi. And because of necessity, he didn't have a bike, so he constructed this bike.
So this is a Ghanaian invention?
Yeah, this Ghanaian invention. Okay. So he was using this bike in going to school. And now this particular guy, Wisdom, is now one of the best cyclists in Ghana. He has built a bamboo bicycle.
So when Wisdom was going to school, he realized that he needed to be swift and fast. Exactly. So he sat down and then built the bike. This is made of wood?
Wood, solely wood. Solely, everything. But this is the first made in Ghana tie.
Made by Firestone.
First made in Ghana tie. And we have the factory at those days at Bonsa in the Western region. From Firestone, it was changed to Bonsa ties. Yeah.
So when was this made?
1978. That was when we have our first made in Ghana tie. We have the crude oil. You process the crude and you get your...
when did you get this? Because I know Ghana discovered oil not too long ago.
Yes, we got this one even before. Because the research has been going on from different...
It means that before oil was discovered in the country, there was the possibility that we would discover oil.
Exactly, yes. Because somewhere from this Volta Basin, this one's from the Volta Basin.
My head is turned upside down. I can actually see myself.
Get it closely.
Closely, like this.
Closely.
Like this. See how I look? My head is bigger.
Yes.
And
it's a concave mirror.
Okay.
The object will be smaller.
Okay.
Convex mirror.
A little bit smaller. And it looks like I'm looking at myself in two ways. Okay.
So if you are far, you see the object very big. But if you are getting closer, you see the object very small. Yeah.
Despite this rich history, the museum is grappling with low patronage. In my 2 hours of being here, only 3 people have come in to see what the facility has to offer. Nsubia Ngai speaks for the Ghana Monuments and Museums Board.
The issue of patronage is like we have issues with patronage. Most of our key visitors, if you look at the visitor statistics, is students in the basic schools that visit here most of the time. And most of the second higher visitor statistics you can look at is the non-Ghanaians. Yeah. Ghanaians, basically, the culture of visiting museums and all of that has not been inculcated in us, so it's actually not an issue, right, for Ghanaians visiting, and that is one of the major challenges we have in trying to convince Ghanaians that museums are not a place for youngs and for toddlers and all of that. It's a place for inspiration, it's a place to learn, and it's a place that people can be educated and they can re-engineer themselves as individuals. And one of the other issues is the encouragement, as you can see, the emporium buildings that are there. So basically, the Science Museum, for some time one could say was a neglect for some time, but physically the figures are picking up, but we know that there's so much room for improvement because we have so many things to show up.
It's a place rich in knowledge and history as well. When you get in there, there are so many things you can learn from the Museum of Science and Technology, but they have big challenges. The biggest one is that they have to deal with the encroachers that have taken over their lands. Little by little, they are winning the fight against the encroachers, and so they hope to turn this place around so that it becomes a nicer place for people to visit, because already they are dealing with the low patronage issues as well. The people who come here to watch whatever they have here, the numbers are not that encouraging. They also hope that little by little they'll also catch up with technology, and so in some years to come we should see the Science Museum being better than it is now. For Joy News, Derek Ekosam, Accra.
And that'll be it for the news this morning. As always, you want to get interactive, please join us on our page on Facebook, Joy News on TV, our handle on Twitter, Joy News on TV, and also a WhatsApp platform through the number 056 800,000. Huh?
What did you say?
056 800,000.
Yeah, you're right.
056 800,000.
All right. We hope the museum story, by the way, will make you want to.
I ate sausage this morning. That's why.
You ate what?
Sausage.
Really?
I want to live good. Yeah.
Sausage, by the way, is not healthy. So let's read some messages. This one says, "Good morning, Mama V. Roland. You look nice this morning.
Thank you.
Teenage pregnancies mostly come from parents. So let's advise parents about how they would take care of their children so that they will not astray. Okay, like, go astray. Ajamwa Edem in the Volta region, precisely in Waje, sending us that message. We have that teenage pregnancy conversation later on my banner this morning. Thanks to the entire technicians today. Your clock is working perfectly.
Oh, you mean the clock on the TV? The time on the TV.
Okay, so
we're not seeing it from here, so.
Yeah, we're not, but I think it scares people sometimes, because that's what he says.
The time we have in the studio is 28 minutes past 6.
I've been out back with C in Techiman. How about the fact that sometimes we forward it so that you can do things,
Oh, that's right. Sometimes you just way off.
My time usually is like 10 minutes after the normal time.
Let me correct you. When you're watching through the satellite feed, the time there is just way off. So it's not funny.
Yeah, no, it's not funny.
Yeah, it's not.
Apology, yeah, but we get it.
But we hope that we're not the only station that does that, though.
Oh, no. Why do you even go there? Okay, so no, it's not a mass thing. We appreciate it. Thank you. Really?
You're rude.
Gaddafi in Picky, thank you for your message. This one says, "Good morning, Roland Mamavi. May I take this opportunity to wish my daughter Judith Ankuma Boating
happy birthday, Judith,
of Prempe Ajimine Preparatory School success in the upcoming BEC years." From Kofi Boating Diayao and Kwanta, sending us that message, to his daughter. This one says, "Good morning. I wish all WASI candidates the best of luck, especially those in my school. Victory is their portion." From Junior Marino at Asari Bediako SHS in Akrokeri. We won the Asari Bediako SHS in Akrokeri. We won their results after the exams.
Charlie, after all these well wishes, if you don't get good results,
please, after the results, let us know how well your school did. Yeah, we really want to know.
All right, so that's just the gist of the messages you brought in, but you want to bring us a lot more. 056 800,000 is the number for our WhatsApp platform. Please bring us a lot more of those messages. We have tons of them we can read, but next we have to look at what the front and back page of the newspapers are. We'll also be looking at what the news portals are saying this morning, and then we'll bring you a lot more discussions thereafter.